The Price of Betrayal, Complete Story. Welcome to Heart's Reckoning. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The Shattered Dream. The Perfect Morning. The morning sun poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the luxury hotel suite, casting golden light across the white silk wedding dress that hung like a promise on the wardrobe door. Maya Richardson stood before the mirror, her dark hair cascading in loose waves over her shoulders, her hands trembling slightly as she touched the delicate lace of her robe. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. "You look absolutely radiant," Sophia Martinez said from behind her, adjusting the pearl clips in Maya's hair. Sophia had been her best friend since college, the one person who had stood by her through everything. "Daniel won't know what hit him when he sees you walking down that aisle." Maya smiled, but something flickered in her chest. A small, nagging doubt she had been pushing away for weeks. Maybe months. She thought back to 5 years ago, when she first met Daniel Chen at an architecture conference in San Francisco. He had been a rising star in the tech world, brilliant and charming, with dark eyes that seemed to see right through her defenses. She had been a junior architect at a prestigious firm, full of dreams about designing buildings that would change skylines. Their romance had been like a fairy tale. Expensive dinners, weekend trips to Paris and Tokyo, surprise gifts that made her friends jealous. Daniel had pursued her relentlessly, making her feel like the most important person in the world. But slowly, things had shifted. First, it was small requests. "Can you skip that work dinner? I have an important investor meeting and I need you there." Then it became bigger. "Maya, this project in New York will take you away for 6 months. We're planning our future. Can't you find something local?" One by one, she had set aside her ambitions. She had turned down the promotion that would have made her lead architect on a major project. She had let opportunities slip away because Daniel needed her support, her presence, her sacrifice. And she had told herself it was love. Earth to Maya, Sophia waved a hand in front of her face. "Where did you go?" "Just thinking," Maya said softly. "About how much has changed." Sophia's expression grew serious. "Are you having second thoughts?" Before Maya could answer, her phone buzzed on the vanity table. She picked it up absently, expecting a message from her mother or the wedding coordinator. Instead, she saw an unknown number. The message read, "You deserve to know the truth before you make the biggest mistake of your life." Below it was a photo attachment. Maya's finger hesitated over the screen. Something told her not to open it, to delete it and move on with her perfect day. But curiosity, or maybe intuition, made her tap the image. The phone slipped from her hand. The discovery. Sophia rushed forward, catching the phone before it hit the floor. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. The photo showed Daniel, her Daniel, in what was clearly a hotel room. He was with Vanessa Park, his executive secretary. They weren't just standing close. They were tangled together on a bed, his hands in her hair, her legs wrapped around his waist. The image was explicit, intimate, and undeniable. But it wasn't just one photo. More messages came flooding in, one after another. Screenshots of text conversations spanning 2 years. "Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. She'll never know. You're so much more exciting than she is." Images from different locations, different hotels, different moments of betrayal. The timestamps told a story Maya didn't want to believe. Their anniversary weekend in Napa Valley when Daniel said he had an emergency work trip. He had been with Vanessa. The night Maya had stayed up until 3 a.m. finishing a presentation for Daniel's investors. He had been in Vanessa's apartment. 2 years. He had been cheating for 2 years. "Maya," Sophia's voice seemed to come from far away. "Maya, breathe. You need to breathe." Maya realized she had been holding her breath. She gulped air, but it felt like drowning. The room spun. The white dress on the door seemed to mock her with its purity. Another message appeared, "I'm Vanessa's roommate. I couldn't watch her destroy your life anymore." She's been bragging about how she'll be Mrs. Chen soon. Said Daniel promised to leave you after the wedding for the inheritance from his grandmother. I'm sorry. You deserve better. The inheritance. Daniel's grandmother had put a clause in her will. Daniel would receive $50 million and control of the family company only if he was married before his 35th birthday. That birthday was next month. Maya had thought he proposed because he loved her. Now she understood. She wasn't his bride. She was his key to a fortune. Everything crystallized in that moment. The rushed proposal. The quick wedding planning. His insistence that they marry before his birthday. His grandmother had died 6 months ago, leaving behind a will that required marriage as proof of stability and commitment. Daniel hadn't chosen her. He had used her. I'm going to kill him, Sophia said, her voice shaking with rage. I'm going to walk downstairs and destroy him in front of everyone. No. Maya's voice came out steady, cold, surprising even herself. She looked up from the phone, and something had changed in her eyes. The softness was gone, replaced by something sharp and calculating. That's too easy. What do you mean? Maya stood slowly, her mind racing. 200 guests were downstairs in the hotel ballroom. Her parents had flown in from Chicago. Daniel's business partners, investors, and family filled the room. The press was outside. Daniel's company was going public next month, and this wedding had been featured in 3 major magazines as the ultimate power couple union. If she called off the wedding now, she would be seen as the jilted bride. The woman who wasn't enough. People would whisper that she must have done something wrong, that she couldn't keep her man. Daniel would spin the story. He always did. He would paint himself as the victim, claim she had cold feet, maybe even hint that she had been unfaithful. He would still get sympathy, still keep his reputation intact. And Vanessa? She would become the woman who saved him from a loveless marriage. The new Mrs. Chen, walking away with everything. No. Maya wasn't going to let that happen. Sophia, she said quietly. I need you to do exactly as I say. Don't question me, don't argue. Just trust me. Sophia looked at her friend, seeing something she had never seen before. A fierce, cold determination that made her shiver. What are you planning? Maya picked up her phone and began typing rapidly. I'm going to make sure Daniel Chen pays for every lie, every betrayal, every moment he made me feel small. And I'm going to do it in front of everyone he's ever tried to impress. She sent several messages, made 3 phone calls, and then turned to Sophia with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Help me into my dress. I have a wedding to attend. The wedding march. 30 minutes later, Maya stood at the entrance to the ballroom, her arm linked with her father's. Through the open doors, she could see the sea of faces, the flowers, the candles, and at the end of the long white aisle, Daniel. He looked perfect in his custom tuxedo, his hair styled just right, his smile confident and bright. Next to him stood his best man, Marcus, his business partner. In the front row, Vanessa sat demurely in a navy dress, her face a picture of innocent concern. No one knew. No one suspected. The music began. Wagner's bridal chorus filled the room. You look beautiful, sweetheart, her father whispered. Are you ready? Maya thought about the girl she had been 5 years ago, full of dreams and ambition. She thought about all the pieces of herself she had given away, thinking it was love. She thought about every lie Daniel had told, every time he had looked her in the eyes and made her doubt her own worth. Yes, Dad, she said softly. I'm ready. They began walking down the aisle. Cameras flashed. People smiled. Maya's mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Everything looked perfect, like a scene from a romance movie. But Maya's mind was ice cold and crystal clear. As she passed Vanessa's row, she let her bouquet slip slightly, accidentally dropping a single rose at the woman's feet. Vanessa looked up, startled, and their eyes met. Maya smiled sweetly, and watched Vanessa's face pale as she realized something was wrong. When Maya reached the altar, Daniel took her hand. His palm was warm, familiar. Once, that touch had made her feel safe. Now it made her skin crawl. "You look incredible," he whispered, loud enough for the front rows to hear. Playing the perfect groom. The officiant began. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." Maya barely heard the words. She was counting seconds, waiting. "If anyone has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now or forever hold your peace." The room was silent. Then Maya spoke. "I do." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Daniel's hand tightened on hers. "Maya, what?" "I have a reason," she said clearly, her voice carrying through the stunned silence. She pulled her hand from his and turned to face the guests. "I have several reasons, actually." She pulled out her phone and handed it to the audiovisual technician who had been waiting for her signal. Within seconds, the large screens that had been displaying romantic photos of the couple went dark. Then they lit up again. With every photo, every text message, every piece of evidence of Daniel's betrayal. The room erupted. People shouted. Daniel lunged for the screens, but security guards Maya had hired were already moving. Vanessa tried to run, but Sophia blocked her path, a fierce smile on her face. Daniel spun to Maya, his face twisted with rage and panic. "You can't do this. Do you know what you've done? You've ruined everything." Maya looked at him calmly. "No, Daniel. You ruined everything 2 years ago. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. The inheritance, the company, will go to your cousin, as per your grandmother's will if you don't marry before your birthday. I checked with the lawyers." She smiled. "Did you really think I wouldn't?" She turned to the crowd, many of whom were filming now, their phones out, capturing every moment. "I want everyone here to know something," Maya said, her voice strong and clear. "For 5 years, I made myself smaller for this man. I gave up my dreams, my career, my sense of self, because I thought that was what love required. But real love doesn't ask you to diminish yourself. Real love doesn't lie, doesn't cheat, doesn't use you as a stepping stone to wealth." She looked back at Daniel one last time. "You taught me a valuable lesson today. Sometimes the person you love most is the one who will hurt you deepest. But you also taught me something else. I am stronger than I ever knew." Maya walked down the aisle alone, her head high, leaving behind the chaos, the shouting, the flashing cameras, and the man who had never deserved her. Sophia caught up with her at the hotel elevator. "That was the most badass thing I've ever seen." "What now?" Maya pressed the button for the penthouse suite. "Now? Now I rebuild my life. On my terms. And I make sure Daniel Chen never forgets the woman he underestimated." The elevator doors closed on the sound of Daniel's world falling apart. And Maya smiled. Part 2, The Transformation, 2000 words. Rising from the ashes. 3 months after the wedding that never was, Maya stood in the corner office of Chen Technologies, Daniel's company. But she wasn't a visitor. She was the majority shareholder. The day after the failed wedding, while Daniel was dealing with the media firestorm and Vanessa was being escorted out by security, Maya had been in her lawyer's office, setting her plan in motion. She had learned something interesting during her 5 years with Daniel. She had been present at countless business meetings, dinners with investors, late-night strategy sessions. Daniel had always dismissed her presence as "my fiancé is just here for support," never realizing that Maya had been listening to every word, understanding every deal, memorizing every weakness in his business model. Maya had also discovered that Daniel's company wasn't as stable as it appeared. He had been taking risky investments, hiding losses, and cooking the books to maintain appearances for the upcoming IPO. The same IPO that was supposed to make him a billionaire. And Maya had proof. She had gathered it over the years, thinking she was just being organized, keeping records of their life together. Now those records were her weapons. The morning after the wedding disaster, Maya had contacted Daniel's three biggest investors with a simple message: "We need to talk about what's really happening at Chin Technologies." She presented them with evidence of Daniel's financial mismanagement, his risky decisions, his falsified reports. She also presented them with something else: her own business plan. Maya Richardson might have set aside her architecture career, but she hadn't forgotten her MBA from Stanford. She hadn't forgotten her years of business analysis, her understanding of tech markets, her innovative ideas that Daniel had always dismissed as too ambitious. The investors had been skeptical at first. But Maya was calm, prepared, and brilliant. She showed them exactly how to restructure the company, how to salvage the IPO, how to turn Chin Technologies from a house of cards into a legitimate powerhouse. By the end of the week, they had offered her a deal. They would force Daniel out, install Maya as interim CEO, and give her 6 months to prove she could turn the company around. In exchange, she would receive a 35% stake in the company. Daniel had fought it, of course. But his hands were tied. The investors had the power, and Maya had the proof of his misconduct. If he resisted, she would go public with evidence that could land him in prison for securities fraud. He had signed the papers with shaking hands, hatred burning in his eyes. "You'll fail," he had hissed at her. "You have no idea what you're doing. Without me, that company will crash." Maya had simply smiled. "We'll see." Now, 12 weeks later, Chin Technologies stock had risen 40%. The IPO had been a massive success. The board had voted to make Maya's position permanent. And Daniel was watching from the outside, unemployed, disgraced, and powerless. The unexpected ally. Maya was reviewing quarterly reports when her assistant buzzed. "Ms. Richardson, there's someone here to see you. He says it's urgent." "Who is it?" A pause. "Ethan Sawyer." Maya's pen stopped moving. Ethan Sawyer. She hadn't heard that name in 6 years. Ethan had been her partner on her final project in graduate school, a revolutionary design for sustainable urban housing. They had worked together for months, spending late nights in the studio, pushing each other to be better, creating something truly innovative. They had also fallen in love. It had been intense, passionate, the kind of relationship that burns bright and fast. But Ethan had received an opportunity to study under a master architect in Tokyo, a once-in-a-lifetime chance. And Maya had been offered her position at the prestigious San Francisco firm. They had tried long distance for a while, but the time difference, the distance, the demanding careers, it had all been too much. They had ended it mutually, painfully, promising to remember each other as the one that got away. Then Maya had met Daniel, and Ethan had become a bittersweet memory. "Send him in," Maya said, her heart racing inexplicably. The door opened, and Ethan walked in. He had changed. He was taller than she remembered, or maybe he just carried himself differently now. His dark hair had touches of silver at the temples. He wore a simple but expensive suit, and his eyes, those warm brown eyes she had once loved, were serious and searching. "Maya," he said softly. "You look different." She gestured to the chair across from her desk, trying to appear calm. "It's been 6 years, Ethan. People change. What brings you here?" He sat down, studying her. "I saw what happened. The wedding. It was all over the news. Here to offer condolences?" Her voice came out sharper than she intended. "No. I'm here to offer you a partnership." That caught her off guard. "Excuse me?" Ethan leaned forward. "I've been working with a consortium of international investors. We're developing a project in Singapore, a sustainable smart city from the ground up. It's a billion-dollar project, Maya. The kind of thing we used to dream about in grad school." He pulled out a tablet and showed her the designs. Maya's breath caught. It was brilliant. Vertical gardens integrated with residential towers. Solar technology woven into the architecture. Transportation systems that moved seamlessly through the structures. It was everything she had ever wanted to create. We need a tech partner, Ethan continued. Someone who understands smart city technology, AI integration, sustainable energy systems. Someone innovative and trustworthy. I thought of Chin Technologies. I thought of you. You want to work with me. I want to work with the woman who designed the Morgan Building concept in grad school. The woman who saw the future of architecture before anyone else did. He paused. I want to work with the Maya I knew before she disappeared into someone else's life. The words stung because they were true. Why now? Maya asked. Why come to me after 6 years of silence? Ethan met her eyes steadily. Because I was a coward. Because I let you go when I should have fought for us. Because I watched you on the news, standing in that wedding dress, calling out the man who betrayed you, and I realized something. He took a breath. I never stopped loving you, Maya. And I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. The office seemed too small suddenly. Maya stood and walked to the window, looking out over the city. Her city. The one she was learning to conquer. This isn't a romantic reunion, Ethan. I'm not the same person you knew. I know. You're stronger now. More focused. More yourself. He came to stand beside her. I'm not asking you to go back to who we were. I'm asking you to consider who we could become. Maya thought about Daniel, about betrayal and broken trust. She thought about the wall she had built around her heart. But she also thought about passion and dreams and the feeling of creating something meaningful with someone who understood her. Tell me more about Singapore, she said finally. Ethan smiled, and for the first time in 3 months, Maya felt something other than anger and determination. She felt hope. The revenge unfolds. While Maya was rebuilding her life, Daniel's world continued to crumble. His reputation in the tech world was destroyed. The investors who had once courted him now avoided his calls. His assets were frozen pending the fraud investigation that Maya's evidence had triggered. But Maya wasn't satisfied with just professional destruction. She wanted Daniel to feel the same pain, the same humiliation, the same loss of self that she had experienced. So she made a plan. She discovered that Daniel had been secretly investing in a startup called Vision AI, using money he had siphoned from Chin Technologies. It was his backup plan, his way to rebuild his fortune. He had 60% ownership, and the company was about to close a major deal that would make him wealthy again. Maya couldn't let that happen. She researched Vision AI's potential clients and found they were looking for a comprehensive AI solution that integrated hardware and software. Chin Technologies had been developing exactly that technology. Maya scheduled a meeting with Vision AI's biggest potential client and presented them with a better offer, Chin Technologies' superior technology at a lower cost, with her personal guarantee of support and implementation. The client signed with Chin Technologies. Vision AI lost its major deal. The other investors pulled out. The company folded within a week. Daniel called her, his voice shaking with rage. You destroyed my company. Are you happy now? That wasn't your company, Daniel. You built it with money you embezzled from Chin Technologies. I just took back what was mine. Maya's voice was calm, almost pleasant. And to answer your question, not yet. But I'm getting there. She hung up before he could respond. But Maya's revenge had an unexpected consequence. As she watched Daniel fall, she felt hollow instead of triumphant. Every move she made against him required her to think about him, to focus on him, to let him occupy space in her mind. She was becoming consumed by vengeance, and it was starting to feel like another kind of prison. Sophia noticed the change. You're not sleeping. You're not eating. Maya, you're destroying him, but you're also destroying yourself. I'm fine, Maya insisted. No, you're not. You're becoming so focused on revenge that you're forgetting to actually live your life. That night, Maya sat alone in her penthouse apartment, surrounded by strategy documents and plans for further vengeance. She looked at the Singapore project proposal Ethan had left with her, still untouched. On one side was revenge. On the other was rebuilding. She couldn't do both. For the first time since the wedding, Maya cried. Not for Daniel, not for what she had lost, but for the person she was becoming. Someone hard, cold, calculating, everything she had never wanted to be. Her phone rang. It was Ethan. I'm in town for one more night, he said. Have dinner with me. Not to talk about business. Just to talk. Maya almost said no. But something in his voice, warmth, genuine care, an invitation back to herself, made her hesitate. Okay, she whispered. At dinner, Ethan didn't ask about Daniel or Chin Technologies. Instead, he asked about her dreams. Her favorite buildings. What she wanted to create, not destroy. I'm afraid, Maya admitted over dessert. I'm afraid that if I stop fighting, if I let go of the anger, I'll go back to being the woman who let herself be used. The woman who was so desperate to be loved that she forgot to love herself. Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. That woman was never weak, Maya. She was kind and trusting. The world needs more people like that, not fewer. What happened to you was Daniel's failure, not yours. But the revenge has gone far enough. You proved you're stronger than him. You took back your power. Now the question is, what will you do with it? Maya looked at their joined hands, feeling the warmth of human connection she had denied herself for months. I want to build something, she said finally. Something that matters. Something that lasts longer than revenge. Ethan smiled. Then let's build it together. That night, Maya made a decision. She would stop actively pursuing Daniel's destruction. She wouldn't help him, he had made his own bed, but she wouldn't let him consume her life anymore either. She had better things to do. She had a city to build. Part 3, The Redemption, 2,000 words. Building Dreams. 6 months later, Maya stood on a construction site in Singapore, wearing a hard hat and reviewing architectural plans with Ethan. Around them, workers moved like a choreographed dance, building the sustainable smart city that had once been just a dream. The project was massive. 50 buildings, each one integrated with cutting-edge technology from Chin Technologies, each one designed with the environmental sensitivity that Maya had always championed. It was her vision made real, her redemption made tangible. And it was beautiful. The vertical gardens are going in next week, Ethan said, pointing to the framework of Tower 3. Just like you designed. Maya smiled, feeling a satisfaction deeper than anything revenge had given her. This was creation, not destruction. This was legacy, not vengeance. Her relationship with Ethan had evolved slowly, carefully. They were partners first, in business, in vision, in purpose. But something else was growing between them too. Something patient and genuine, built on mutual respect rather than desperate need. Ethan didn't try to change her. He didn't ask her to be smaller or quieter or more convenient. He challenged her to be better, bolder, more herself. It was everything Daniel had never been. Ms. Richardson. A site manager called out. We have a visitor. Maya turned, expecting a local official or investor. Instead, she saw Vanessa Park. The woman who had helped destroy her wedding day stood at the edge of the construction site, looking nervous and small. She had lost weight. Her expensive designer clothes had been replaced with simple, modest attire. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. Maya's first instinct was to have security remove her. But something in Vanessa's expression, genuine remorse, real shame, made her pause. Let her through, Maya said quietly. Vanessa walked over slowly, stopping a respectful distance away. I don't expect you to forgive me, she began, her voice shaking. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I needed to see you. To apologize in person. Why now? Maya asked, her voice neutral. Because I've spent the last 6 months living with what I did. Because Daniel threw me away the moment I was no longer useful. Because I realized too late that I destroyed a good woman's life for a man who never cared about either of us. Vanessa's voice broke. You didn't deserve what we did to you. Maya studied her, this woman who had been her enemy. And she saw something unexpected, another victim of Daniel's manipulation. Younger, less experienced, fed promises that were always lies. He told you he loved you, didn't he? Maya said softly. Vanessa nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. He said you were just an obligation. That once the inheritance came through, he would marry me. I believed him because I wanted to. Because I was stupid and selfish and young, Maya finished. You were young and he was powerful and charming. I understand that better than you think. I cost you your wedding. Your reputation. No. Maya's voice was firm. You cost me an illusion. That wedding would have been the biggest mistake of my life. In a strange way, your betrayal saved me from years of misery. Vanessa looked up, stunned. I don't understand. How can you not hate me? Maya thought about the last 6 months. The revenge, the anger, the consuming need for vengeance. She thought about how it had almost destroyed the good parts of herself. I did hate you, Maya admitted. For a long time. But hate is exhausting, Vanessa. And it was keeping me chained to the past. I have too much to build to stay angry forever. She gestured to the construction site around them. This project is employing 5,000 people. It's going to house 50,000 more. It's going to change how we think about sustainable urban living. That's what I choose to focus my energy on now. You're incredible, Vanessa whispered. Daniel said you were weak. He had no idea. Neither did I, Maya said with a small smile. That's the funny thing about betrayal. Sometimes it breaks you. Sometimes it shows you who you really are. Ethan approached, protective and wary. Everything okay here? Yes. Maya turned back to Vanessa. I'm not going to pretend we're friends. And I can't give you absolution. But I can let go of the anger. That's the best I can offer. Vanessa nodded, wiping her eyes. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. She turned to leave, then paused. Maya? I hope you find real love. The kind that doesn't ask you to be anyone but yourself. After Vanessa left, Ethan put his arm around Maya's shoulders. You're a better person than I am. I wanted to throw her off the construction site. Maya leaned into him. A year ago, I would have too. But I'm learning that mercy isn't weakness. It's freedom. The final confrontation. News of Maya's success had spread through the business world. Chin Technologies was thriving. The Singapore project was ahead of schedule and under budget. Maya had been featured in Forbes, Fortune, and Time magazine as one of the most innovative CEOs in the tech industry. And Daniel Chen was bankrupt, unemployed, and facing potential prison time for fraud. Maya had thought she would feel triumphant. Instead, she felt nothing. Until the day Daniel showed up at her Singapore hotel. Security called her room. Ms. Richardson, there's a Daniel Chen in the lobby demanding to see you. Should we remove him? Maya hesitated. Part of her wanted to say yes, to let security throw him out, to never see his face again. But another part, the part that wanted true closure, needed this final conversation. Send him up. But have security wait outside the door. When Daniel entered her suite, Maya barely recognized him. The confident, polished man she had known was gone. His suit was wrinkled, his hair unkempt. His eyes, once bright with ambition, were dull and desperate. Maya, he said, and his voice cracked. Please. You have to help me. She gestured to a chair but remained standing, maintaining the power dynamic. Help you how? The prosecutors, they're going to charge me with securities fraud. I could go to prison for 10 years. But if you withdrew your testimony, if you said the evidence was misunderstood, you want me to lie for you? I'm begging you. He fell to his knees, actually kneeling before her. I'm sorry for everything. For Vanessa, for using you, for all of it. But please, Maya. Don't let them destroy my life. Maya looked down at him, this man who had once seemed so powerful, so untouchable. She thought about the woman she had been, kneeling in a different way, making herself small for his comfort. Do you know what you took from me, Daniel? I know I hurt you. No. You don't know. She walked to the window, looking out at the city being built below. You took 5 years of my life. 5 years where I could have been designing buildings, creating innovations, making a difference. You made me believe that my dreams were less important than your convenience. You made me doubt my own worth. She turned back to him. But here's what you didn't take, my ability to rebuild. My strength. My intelligence. Everything I am now, I became despite you, not because of you. Please. I'm not going to lie for you, Daniel. You committed fraud. You stole money. Those are crimes with consequences. She paused. But I'm also not going to actively testify against you anymore. I've given the prosecutors all the evidence. What they do with it is their decision, not mine. Daniel looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. So you'll help me? No. I'm letting go. There's a difference. She walked to the door and opened it. What happens to you now is the result of your own choices. I'm done being part of your story. Maya, wait. I did love you. Maybe not in the right way, but I did. No, Daniel. Her voice was quiet but firm. You loved what I could give you. Security, respectability, access to your inheritance. That's not the same thing as loving me. She gestured to the security guards. Please escort Mr. Chen out. As they led him away, Daniel looked back one last time. I hope you're happy now. Maya closed the door and leaned against it, feeling a weight lift from her chest that she hadn't known she was carrying. I am, she whispered to the empty room. I finally am. The new beginning. 3 months later, Maya stood in a different kind of venue. Not a wedding hall, but an awards ceremony. She wore a simple but elegant black dress, her hair pulled back, her face serene and confident. She was receiving the Architecture Innovation Award for the Singapore project, recognizing her contribution to sustainable urban design. As she walked to the stage to accept the award, she saw faces in the audience, Sophia, beaming with pride. Her parents, tears in their eyes. Her colleagues from Chen Technologies, applauding enthusiastically. And Ethan, sitting in the front row, watching her with love and admiration. When I started this project, Maya said into the microphone, I thought I was building a city. But what I was really building was a new version of myself. A version that's stronger, wiser, and unafraid to dream big. She looked directly at Ethan. I learned that revenge might feel satisfying in the moment, but creation lasts forever. That real love doesn't diminish you, it expands you. That the best response to betrayal isn't to become bitter, but to become better. The audience applauded, but Maya was focused on something else. The future stretching ahead of her, full of possibilities and projects and passion. After the ceremony, Ethan met her backstage. You were amazing up there. I had a good partner, she said, taking his hand. Maya Richardson, he said seriously, I have a question for you. Her heart skipped, but she kept her expression calm. Yes? Will you design the next phase of the Singapore project with me? And maybe. He paused, maybe consider designing a life together too? It wasn't a proposal. Not yet. But it was an invitation to something real, something equal, something built on mutual respect and genuine love. Maya thought about the girl who had stood in a wedding dress, about to marry the wrong man. She thought about the woman who had channeled her pain into revenge, almost losing herself in the process. And she thought about the woman she had become, strong, successful, surrounded by love and purpose. "Yes," she said, kissing him softly. "Let's build something beautiful together." And they did. Epilogue, 1 year later. Maya sat in her corner office at Chin Technologies, reviewing designs for their newest project, a sustainable housing development for low-income families. It wasn't the most profitable venture, but it was the most meaningful. Her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hello? Maya Richardson?" A professional woman's voice. "This is Jennifer Walsh from the State Bar Association. I'm calling about Daniel Chen." Maya's stomach tightened, but her voice remained steady. "What about him?" "Mr. Chen completed his prison sentence last month. As part of his parole conditions, he's required to make restitution to those he harmed. He's requested a meeting with you to personally apologize and discuss repayment. You're under no obligation to accept." Maya was quiet for a moment. She had heard through the grapevine that Daniel had served 18 months for securities fraud. She had deliberately not followed his case, choosing to focus on building rather than watching him fall. "Ms. Richardson? Tell him I'll meet him. Once. In a public place." 3 days later, Maya sat in a quiet cafe downtown, wearing jeans and a simple sweater. She had brought Sophia for moral support, who sat at a nearby table, watching protectively. When Daniel walked in, Maya barely recognized him. Prison had aged him. His hair was fully gray now, his face lined with exhaustion and something else, humility. He wore simple clothes, nothing designer, nothing flashy. He sat down across from her, his hands trembling slightly. "Thank you for agreeing to see me. I'm here to listen." "That's all." Daniel nodded. "I've had a lot of time to think. About what I did. About who I was." He looked directly at her. "I destroyed you, Maya. Or I tried to. I used you, betrayed you, tried to make you small because it made me feel big. I know. But you didn't stay destroyed. You became this." He gestured at her, at the confidence she wore like armor now. "You became incredible. And I'm serving lattes at a coffee shop in Oakland." There was no self-pity in his voice, just statement of fact. "I'm not here for your pity, Maya. I'm here to say I'm sorry. Genuinely, completely sorry. Not because I want anything from you, but because you deserve to hear it. You deserved better than me. You always did." Maya studied him. She had imagined this moment during her darkest revenge fantasies, Daniel broken, apologizing, begging. She had thought it would feel victorious. Instead, she just felt tired. "I accept your apology, Daniel. Not because it changes what happened, but because holding on to anger was poisoning me more than it was hurting you." She leaned forward. "But I want you to understand something. You didn't destroy me. You revealed me. The strength was always there. I just had to remember it." Daniel smiled sadly. "I heard about the Singapore project. The Affordable Housing Initiative. The awards. You're changing the world, Maya. Like you always wanted to." "Yes. I am." "And Ethan Sawyer?" "I saw the engagement announcement. Congratulations." Maya touched the simple diamond ring on her finger. Ethan had proposed 3 months ago, not with fanfare or spectacle, but during a quiet dinner at home, with words that spoke of partnership and equal dreams. "Thank you." Daniel stood to leave. "I hope you have a beautiful wedding. The kind you always deserved." He paused. "And Maya? I hope someday I become someone worthy of the forgiveness you've shown me today." After he left, Sophia came over and sat down. "How do you feel?" Maya thought about it. "Free," she said finally. "Completely free." "Good. Because we have a wedding to plan, and I have 17 ideas for bridesmaid dresses. Maya laughed, real and genuine. Only 17? You're losing your touch. The wedding. 6 months later, Maya stood in a simple garden venue, surrounded by flowers and friends. No cameras, no press, no spectacle. Just the people who truly mattered. Her dress was elegant but understated. She had designed it herself, incorporating sustainable fabric and simple lines. Sophia stood beside her as maid of honor, wearing a dress she had actually helped choose this time. At the end of the aisle stood Ethan, wearing a suit but looking comfortable, natural. His eyes were bright with tears and joy. This time, there was no doubt. No secret betrayal waiting to be revealed. Just two people who had found their way back to each other, stronger and wiser for the journey. As Maya walked down the aisle, alone, by choice, because she didn't need anyone to give her away, she thought about the woman she had been. The one who had stood in a different wedding dress, about to make the biggest mistake of her life. She thought about the woman who had channeled betrayal into revenge, who had almost lost herself in anger. And she celebrated the woman she had become, independent, creative, powerful, and finally, truly loved. When she reached Ethan, he took her hands gently. Ready to build our next masterpiece together? She smiled. Always. The officiant began, but Maya barely heard the words. She was too focused on this moment, this choice, this partnership that asked nothing of her except to be fully, completely herself. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now or forever hold your peace. Silence. Beautiful, peaceful silence. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you partners in life, in love, and in all dreams yet to come. They kissed, and the small crowd erupted in cheers. As they walked back down the aisle together, Maya caught sight of someone at the back of the garden. A woman in a simple dress, standing apart from the celebration. Vanessa. She hadn't been invited, but she had come anyway, just to witness the happiness she had once tried to destroy. When their eyes met, Vanessa nodded once, a gesture of acknowledgement, of respect, perhaps of her own journey toward redemption. Maya nodded back. Then she turned to her husband, her partner, her equal, and walked toward their future. Behind them, the garden filled with laughter and music and love. And somewhere in Oakland, Daniel Chen served coffee to customers and tried, in his own small way, to become a better man. The story of betrayal had ended. The story of redemption was just beginning. The legacy. 5 years later, Maya Richardson Sawyer stood at a press conference, announcing her newest initiative, the Second Chance Architecture Program, offering free training to people rebuilding their lives after incarceration or hardship. Everyone deserves a chance to rebuild, she told the cameras. To take their pain and transform it into something meaningful. That's what architecture taught me. That's what life taught me. In the audience sat her 2-year-old daughter, Lily, on Ethan's lap. Next to them sat Sophia with her own family. Maya's parents beamed with pride. And in the back, unnoticed by most, sat 3 people who had once been part of Maya's darkest chapter: Vanessa, now a social worker helping abuse survivors; Daniel, working as an accounts clerk and volunteering at homeless shelters; and Marcus, Daniel's former best man, who had reached out to apologize for his own complicity. None of them were friends with Maya. But they had all been touched by her journey from victim to victor, from revenge to redemption. After the conference, a young woman approached Maya. "Ms. Richardson Sawyer? I just wanted to say thank you. My fiancé cheated on me last year. I found out 2 weeks before our wedding. I was destroyed." Maya listened, her heart aching with recognition. "But then I read your story. How you turned your pain into power. How you built something beautiful instead of staying broken. You inspired me to go back to school, to finish my degree, to stop letting his betrayal define my life." The woman's eyes shone. "I'm graduating next month. Top of my class. And I wanted you to know that your story saved me." Maya hugged her, this stranger who wasn't a stranger at all. "You saved yourself." I just showed you it was possible. That night, Maya sat on her balcony with Ethan, watching the city lights twinkle below. Their daughter slept peacefully inside. Their life was full of purpose and love and meaning. Do you ever think about him? Ethan asked quietly. Daniel? Sometimes, Maya admitted. Not with anger anymore. Just observation. He was a chapter in my life. An important one, because it led me here. Do you regret the revenge? The time you spent trying to destroy him? Maya considered this carefully. I regret that it consumed me for a while. That I almost became as cruel as he was. But I don't regret standing up for myself. I don't regret showing him that he couldn't break me. She leaned against Ethan's shoulder. The difference is, I learned when to stop. I learned that the best revenge isn't destruction, it's becoming so successful, so happy, so fulfilled that the person who hurt you becomes irrelevant. And is he? Irrelevant? Maya smiled. Completely. Inside, baby Lily stirred and called out. Maya went to her, lifting her daughter into her arms, humming softly. The same lullaby that had once soothed her broken heart now soothed her child. The cycle had been broken. The pain had been transformed. The story had been rewritten. Not with a perfect ending, but with a real one. Where the woman who had once begged to be loved learned to love herself. Where the heart that had been shattered was rebuilt, stronger than before. Where betrayal became the beginning, not the end. And where will you stay, was finally answered with certainty. Yes. I'm staying. For myself. For my dreams. For the life I choose to build. The end. Thank you for watching Heart's Reckoning. If you enjoyed this story of love, betrayal, and redemption, please like and subscribe for more captivating tales. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever turned pain into power? Your story matters too. See you in the next video.